Okay? Oysters. They're delicious.
Yes.
I want to keep them on my chicken carcass. I'm going to serve these with the leg and thigh, so I need to keep this with this. So I make a mark above the oyster. Above meaning between the tail and the head. I made a mark above the oyster. Everybody see that? The camera is still not working. I had to order parts from Japan, apparently. So a mark to include the oyster with the leg and thigh. Next, I'm going to cut right down the center of the backbone. Basically splits the back in half there. So right down the middle of the back, I've just split those two oysters. So there's an oyster, there's an oyster. All right, flip the chicken over on its back. Now in a minute here, I want to have the chicken here is going to be presented as a breast with the skin on it. And the skin needs to cover the breast entirely. Okay? In order to do that, I need to not cut near the breast or I'll leave a big scoop out of the skin here. So what you want to do is cut as close to the leg and thigh. For this whole process of removing the leg and thigh quarter, I'm not going to cut any meat. I'm only going to cut skin. You know the difference between skin and meat? Does everybody know the difference? Okay, so I'm going to cut skin only, and watch what I do here. It's close to the leg and thigh, not close to the breast. I'm cutting close to the leg and thigh, skin only. No meat was cut there. Okay? And now watch what I get to do. Now I just need to connect the cut in the skin I've made here with the cut I made previous above the oyster. So that is
still not cutting no meat.
skin only. So if you look in here, no meat has been cut. Could you move those fruits and vegetables for me, buddy, so I don't get any chicken water on? Just take that, you can put all that on that sheet tray.
Okay.
On that cutting board. Move the whole cutting board if you don't mind, sir. Thank you very much. So does everybody see that we've not cut any muscle whatsoever? Okay? The next step will be to pop the hip joint out of socket and watch what happens. When I do it properly, the top of the thigh bone, this is the chicken thigh, comes right through the meat of the thigh. Everybody see that? I'll repeat that on the other side here real quickly. So I'm cutting close to the leg and thigh, skin only. So the only skin was cut there. And now, my goal will be to connect where the skin has been cut already with the skin that I cut earlier here. You see that? There's that T. Let me just cut skin. Right? Now with me? And then we pop the hip joint right out of socket. And there it comes right through. So very simple. Alright? Now, here's the fun part here. I want to get that oyster out, okay? But again, I'm not going to use my knife to cut any meat on this whole removal of leg and thigh. In fact, the oyster, that little nugget of meat that I love so much, sits down, and this is bone right here, and this is my oyster. It sits down in a little cup. If I were to try to cut that oyster out, I would leave a lot of meat down in the bottom of that cup. So I'm going to use my thumb to scoop the oyster out of the hip. Now watch how I do it here. With the hip joint popped out of socket already, my goal will be to, with my thumb, scoop that oyster. See the cup there? And all I did was, with my thumb, I pushed the oyster up and out of that cup. That's the oyster right there. It's the best part of the chicken.
That's the, it tastes like marrow, right? Then I don't think I've had it.
You've had it. You know, on a chicken thigh, there's always that little piece that's like kind of, like you said, it's on that cup. You'll know that. That's it. It's real tender. But not super fatty.
Now I want to pull this off by hand, but as I pull, I'm still connected here between my hip and my top of the femur here. In fact, if I pull and I put my thumb there, I can feel tension, like on a couple, like 4 or 5 little pieces of string, right? It's preventing me from pulling it off. If you want, right here, in here, you can either cut it with a knife, just the cartilage part, or you can actually work your finger under it and just pop them loose. I'll do that on the other side. And then at that point, you should be able to pull. No knife. I haven't picked up the knife. Pull the whole hip right off, and look how clean. See, that hip joint would normally have meat down in that hole. It would have meat right here if I cut it with a knife. By pulling it, you'll get 100% meat off of that hip. Well, I'll do it again for you here. I got 2 sides. So again, starting with my thumb, and my thumb here, I'm just looking at the other side, was just to scoop that oyster out. Let's do it on this side. Scoop. Okay. Without a knife here, if I didn't have a knife, I could just, there's that cartilage. Look right here. See, that's the cartilage I cut free earlier. See that little string? Little white stuff? Tendon, maybe? Might be a better term. And now, once I'm free of that tendon, if we pull, see it pulling right off the hip there? Everybody see that? See how clean it is? Pretty cool, huh? All right, we'll put the chicken to the side for a second here, because here's what you guys are going to do next. We're going to bone out the leg and thigh. So I'm going to remove in one piece the thigh bone, the kneecap, and the 2 lower leg bones from the drumstick. Watch, y'all pay very close attention, because this is where you'll have your trouble. In the whole chicken, this part right, this step will give you more trouble than anything. Okay? The first part, I need to cut down. You've eaten a chicken thigh before? The chicken thigh bone goes from here, I can see it there, to a kneecap here. So it goes from there to there, and then from here to here. I'm just going to cut where the thigh bone is. I've cut some meat here with the tip of my knife. I'm cutting the thigh meat.
Along the bone?
On the bone, right there, see? There's the bone. Okay? You can do this little trick where you... Thanks, Chef. Scraping the meat down the bone here, you see that? Got myself a little handle. Right? Now, right here is going to be a kneecap, just like your kneecap. And I don't want the kneecap to stay in this leg and thigh. I need to go outside of it. Okay? What you're about to find out is that this meat is attached on the drumstick, around the top of the drumstick, and not anywhere else. But I got to get to where it's connected. I get to that by cutting the meat over the kneecap. I'm cutting the meat. See how I'm dragging my knife sideways? Y'all see that? Now I'm on the back of the knee. All around, all the way around the drumstick, I've got to free the connective tissue at the top of the drumstick. There's the drumstick right there. Everybody with me? So look, if I get under this kneecap here, let me show you what happens. If you start to see that, there's the chicken's kneecap. I don't want that in here. If that should happen, I need to stop, hammer time, and go outside of that kneecap. Okay? So there's your thigh bone, there's your kneecap, there's your lower leg, there's the lower leg bones, just like you have. Okay? Once I get past the top of the drumstick, you can just pull it off like a dirty sock. Dirty something. Alright? Once you get to the bottom here, you got a really smooth piece of cartilage right there. Everybody see that smooth piece of cartilage? Sometimes just pulling it off at the end will cause you to rip the foot off the end or rip the ankle off. What you want to do is, when you get to that smooth piece of cartilage right there, I want you to put your thumb in that little groove and then pop the ankle off the end of the leg and thigh. And then there you go. I have my first piece of usable trim.
For the stock.
For stock, yes. And at that point, we'll turn our chicken leg and thigh right side in. Okay. Now when I check your chicken, what I'm going to look for is that we don't have any tears in the meat. And in fact, ours is completely covered with skin. That was actually there earlier.
So when we do our certification, this is what we have to do as well? Debone the whole thing?
When you pass this class and pass this exam, you'll have passed the certification, that part of your certification.
Oh. No, culinary.
Like, how does the test work? Like, who tests us?
I do.
You do?
Day 26 and 27, you'll do this practical exam for me in this class. You will do this test. You'll do this stuff again. You'll repeat this little process. Right before you do the practical exam, I'll do this demo again for you on day 26. Those of you that don't do it till day 27, on day 27, I'll do this demo for you again as well. And then you'll go and repeat the practical.
We're gonna do that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have the
You'll do this alone, by yourself.
No, I mean like one day you had like 8 to 10.
But we have the opportunity to fabricate on floor.
You're going to fabricate today. And you'll fabricate.
Before
No.
the exam.
Just buy chicken.
That's why I'm doing chickens. That's why I'm doing the. That's why I'm going to demo it again for you right before your practice. If at any time you want to get a chicken and bring it in here and we can fabricate it together, we just don't get chicken in here anymore any other times. We have every other product we're doing, so we don't have time to do it several times during the process. Okay? So there's one boneless leg and thigh quarter. The one thing I'm going to check for, there's my oyster. We will typically pick your chicken up by the oyster. You ever been picked up that way? It's like hell. All right.
And this stuff for tomorrow?
We'll do it tomorrow. We'll do that part tomorrow. So again, just cutting along the bone of the thigh. You can pinch the thigh bone, touch your fingers behind the thigh bone, and then replace your knife where your fingers were. And then push down, pushing and scraping. This part right here, I'm telling you, you're going to have trouble doing this, so pay attention. There's the kneecap. I can already feel my knife. If I wasn't careful, my knife would go right under it. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to go outside of it. All this is, see, do you see any of those cuts I made? Or is it all covered up with skin? Yeah, and then it's going to be covered up with caul fat on top of that. So don't, you know, be careful. But I mean,
Caul fat is like wrapping something in bacon without it being smoked.
yeah, it's a lot lighter than that. You know, it's not so thick. You know, you don't have to worry about cooking the caul fat because it's like
Cinnamon
it's transparent. You know? We just kind of try to render the fat away from it. I'll demo that for you tomorrow. You'll be crystal clear on that. It's cool. And then once I get past the top of the drumstick there, now I can just pull this down. Look for that smooth piece of cartilage there. Put my thumb in that little groove there, and just work it off the ends. Usable trim. Turn this right side in. Two boneless leg and thigh quarter. All right.